Right, hello everybody. Hello, it's lovely to be back at the Women in Sectional Title webinar. It's our last one for the year, we've been through every single month. We've had a WIST webinar. I think the year to date has been a challenging year, but also a productive year, and the foundation has been set for a lot of exciting initiatives for next year. So people have been working hard, and one of those exciting initiatives has been the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority really coming out and wanting to register managing agents. A very big thank you to all our sponsors, as per usual: CIA, ZFIN, We Connect You, Sectional Title Solutions, and PKF Octagon. We really appreciate your support in running these webinars, and we're looking forward to your support as well again next year. So the thing with I'd like to just place in context before we say hello to Johlene and Debra, and I'll introduce them to you. I'd like to first place in context why this PPRA is so important for managing agents. I mean, every year for the last probably 26 years that I've gone to functions and conferences, it's always struck me that managing agents have always sort of been treated as the poor cousins of estate agents. I mean, there's never been a proper authority that looked after them. So we were quite heartened and hopeful when the CSOS came in, and now even more so that managing agents are being given their place in the sun. And we're really hopeful that with these ladies certainly in charge, things are going to move in the correct and the right direction. So welcome to you, ladies. Debra Vial is the acting executive managing agent, executive manager for compliance. I'm so sorry, for the PPRA. Hi, Debra.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all.
And Johlene Wasserman is a face that we all know. Johlene is the executive for licensing and registration at the PPRA. Hi, Johlene.
Hello.
So I think at the end of the day, you ladies must be very tired of talking about registration and compliance and the PPRA. I know you've been on other webinars, and we're hopefully the last one that you've got today before the big day tomorrow. So I think you must know absolutely everything there is to know about this process, and we're going to pick your brains because there's really a lot to get through, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the Fidelity Fund certificates. This is something that is really crucial and an integral part of being registered with the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority. And there's certain exemptions. So we're talking now to managing agents. They are on board. We've got quite a few participants here. We need to unpack exactly why you need a Fidelity Fund certificate, and you guys can answer as I'm just going to ask the questions, and then you guys answer whoever is best to answer. Okay, so the question is, why is it necessary to have a Fidelity Fund certificate as a managing agent?
Do you want to start? Me? Okay, sure. Hi, everybody. All right, first of all, the reason why it's necessary is simply because it's the law. So that's the best reason that we can all have. In terms of the new PPA, a managing agent is included as a property practitioner in the definition. And because it's included in the definition, the Act applies to all property practitioners, including managing agents. So managing agents are required to comply with all aspects of the Act and regulations now, and we regulate managing agents, whether they are body corporates, whether they whatever property they manage. And so your Fidelity Fund certificate allows you to operate. Without a Fidelity Fund certificate, the new Act specifically provides that you cannot operate as a property practitioner. It is unlawful to do so. It's also a criminal offence. And also, if you do, you may not charge any remuneration. So if you want to be able to get commission, get payment for what you do, you have to have a Fidelity Fund certificate. That must also be available on demand to any clients. And the most important factor after the fact that it's part of the law, is that it also allows you to claim, or any clients to claim from the Fidelity Fund if there is a loss of trust monies, which has arisen as a result of the theft of trust money, and which has arisen as a result of the failure of a property practitioner to put money into their trust account and to keep it there until such time as they're lawfully entitled to pay it out to the correct person. So any misappropriation of trust money is covered by the Fidelity Fund if the property practitioner in question has a valid Fidelity Fund certificate, and if they have laid a criminal charge against the person in question. So that is very important, and you need to remember that bodies corporate, those kinds of managing agents who service homeowners associations, all those kinds of clients can then, even where there's fairly large claims where money has been misappropriated, can come to the Fidelity Fund, can prove your claim, and we can pay it out to you. So those are two of the best reasons for you to have a Fidelity Fund certificate.
So underpinning everything and underpinning the rationale behind a Fidelity Fund certificate is theft of monies. I mean, that is the bottom line. And can I ask as well, just from your point of view, from a practical point of view, are payments made out every day? I mean, you involved with the compliance. Is it actually happening?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes, absolutely. We've since I was in the claims department, we pay out probably between 15 and 20 million rand in claims every year. So there's there are large amounts of claims, and we get claims for a lot more than that. The problem is that where people don't have a Fidelity Fund certificate, they cannot then claim against us. So those claims we cannot process. Also, where they are not, there's not sufficient evidence that there was in fact a property practitioner involved, and the property practitioner took the money, got the money, and acted with it in his capacity as a compliant, and it's not paid out. But in most instances, there's sufficient evidence, and it goes before whoever is in charge of the payment of claims at the time, and then the claim is processed and paid out. So it's something that happens continuously.
This is a matter of interest, Debra. How long does it take to pay out a claim? Just so that I know, operating in this industry.
Okay, we try and pay out claims within 3 months, and that is usually more or less the norm. But there are many instances where, for example, an estate agent or a property practitioner, managing agent, or whoever it is, has actually liquidated the company. The company is insolvent. And in instances such as that, your claim is not completely compliant or even quantified until you have claimed against the estate of the company, of the liquidated company. So the liquidator will consider the claim and will say, yes, we have got money in the estate to pay you. We may only be able to pay you 50% of the money we held from you. And so they will pay that out, and then we will consider the claim for the balance. So in instances such as that, it's obviously going to take a lot longer. And also where there's litigation involved, obviously, the courts have their own time. So those take longer. But yes, we generally aim to do it within 3 months.
I've just been sitting here processing that figure that you mentioned per year. It's a lot of money. But I think it's probably going to get worse with the financial, the sort of socio-economic crisis we're facing. Maybe people want to dip their hands into things. So it's really become so much more important for managing owners, I suppose, to be aware of these things as well. What about the expiry period for the Fidelity Fund certificate?
You mean within which? Oh, the Fidelity Fund certificate. Okay. Do you want to talk about how long Fidelity Fund certificates last?
Yeah,
and that way?
Thanks, Debs. Marina, I think to answer your question, I'm going to be a bit cheeky and brag, if I may. So we have cleared the backlog of FFCs and open activities in the last 8 or 6 months. We have actioned 30,000 activities and issued 12,500 FFCs. So as it stands off today, we only have outstanding matters for November and December. November, we're closing off today and tomorrow and Monday. So very delighted for that. So we are ready for managing agents come tomorrow. If you want to come through to our offices, please do so. We'll be here. We'll be working. Fidelity Fund certificate is valid for 3 years. You renew it by the 31st of October in the 3rd year. So it's no more annually. It's now every 3 years, and there's a fee attached to it. All the fees are on our website that you're going to pay. All the forms are on the website, how to apply for tomorrow, how to apply to the portal. There's a step-by-step process. There's new application forms. Everything is on the website. Please don't do it today. That portal only opens at 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Gosh, I mean, I'm very impressed, you guys. At the end of the day, we've got a public holiday to celebrate the box win, and there's the PPRA hard at work. So, sure, well done. I think everybody's impressed with that. Very, very nice. All right, so when we talk about exemptions from FCC, so many people say to me, yeah, but I don't have to, you know, I work in the back office at the managing agent, and who actually is exempt, and how do you also apply for exemption? Is that also on your portal?
So, with exemptions, actually, Debra is our chairperson of our exemptions committee. I'm also a member of the exemptions committee, and it falls squarely within licensing and registration. So how it works, we're reluctant to get job titles. So there's 2 things you have to look out for. Yes, we know portfolio managers and their assistants must be registered, but we're reluctant to give a job title. The access, if you manage a property on behalf of another for remuneration, you must register, as well as if you touch trust money. So say, for instance, your receptionist in your managing agent firm touches trust money. That means she can transact. He or she can transact. So I can load a payment, I can move money around, and I'm the receptionist. Then I'm a property practitioner and I must register. So that's why we do not link it to job titles. If you manage a property on behalf of another for remuneration, you must register. And if you touch trust money, you must register. We have given some exclusions like driver, receptionist, tea lady, maintenance guy or lady, etc. But if you touch trust money, or if you manage the community scheme on behalf of another property, you'll have to register with us. So we have, for instance, accountants that touches the trust money. They must register. We had a scenario where a receptionist touches trust money. She needs to register. And then, of course, all the directors of the firm. Debra, is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. All your directors, the directors who are not non-executive directors or do not have any involvement in the day-to-day running and management of the entity can apply for an exemption so that they don't have to have a Fidelity Fund certificate, and that can be granted to them also by way of the exemption. But other directors or anybody who is involved in the day-to-day running of the company or the business, or is in charge of any of the junior estate agents or junior managing agents, they need to ensure that they have a Fidelity Fund certificate and are registered with us.
Yeah, so I suppose it's quite tricky, because at the end of the day, you have to look at the facts as they're presented, because you might have an IT guy, for example,
yeah,
who has access, you know, might not be that legal access, but at the end of the day, it is access, and that's important. I saw a question that is quite important from Sandy about self-managed buildings. How do you deal with self-managed buildings?
Okay, they are not managing agents. Remember, if you're a managing agent, you're acting on behalf of the owners or on behalf of somebody else. So if you're managing your own property, then you're not a managing agent in terms of the Act. You don't fall under the Act, and you don't need to have any kind of Fidelity Fund certificate. So if, for example, you have a small unit, a group of units, and the trustees manage the unit themselves, various other owners get involved in various operations, that's not a problem. You don't need to, we're not concerned with you. You go ahead and do it as you normally do.
Okay, but they would be covered with their own Fidelity insurance.
That's right. Yes, they would.
Yeah.
They would.
Yeah, so
the thing is that you must remember that the money that is involved there it's not trust money. It's money that is the body corporate money, belongs to the body corporate unit, because the body corporate is basically the owners. So that's their own money. They don't have to have it in a trust account. They don't have to do anything like that. But as soon as you have somebody who is employed to manage the premises and they have access to trust money that is not theirs, then they have to register with us.
Excellent.
I
Okay,
also
let's
saw a question. Sorry, Marina, I did see a
Carry on,
question
go on.
come up, which perhaps we can address. And that's the question of those who have a current FFC already, who registered previously as an estate agent. Remember that under the old Act, you could only register as an estate agent. And you'll remember that the managing agents, the business brokers, and everybody else were very unhappy because they said, we are not estate agents. Why do we have to register an estate agent? Now, the new Act changes that completely. You now register in the industry in which you operate. So you have your own Fidelity Fund certificate, which applies within your industry, and it says on a Fidelity Fund certificate which industry you operate on. That's required by the regulations. So if you received an FFC, which lasts until 2025, as an estate agent, you can only operate as an estate agent under the new Act using that form. If you are no longer operating as an estate agent, or you never did, and you only want to operate as a managing agent, you need to then deregister yourself as an estate agent and re-register as a different industry, your managing agent, and you will get a new FFC for another 3 years, which complies with that and which shows that that is your industry.
Can I just add, Marina, the members do not need to write anything down that we say today. It's all been documented. It's a frequently asked questions for many. Email it to you to send to your members. It's also on the website, how to register from tomorrow, step by step on our portal. It's a user-friendly document. There's about 20 questions of FAQs for managing agent. This is one that we addressed, so that's a document that you're always going to refer to. What's the fees? Must I register? I'm a estate agent as well as a managing agent plus a developer, so please navigate your way through that document. It's quite easy to understand. And we'll be happy to take members through that document as well. We had a number of webinars. We've been quite busy. We've had our own webinars at the PPRA, but they get full so quickly. I'm talking about 1,000 or 2,000 people that we can accommodate per webinar, and they full so quickly because we registered 12 different categories. One can imagine, that's a huge mandate. We are starting with managing agents, but if you are a developer as well, we're registering you from January. If you're a business broker, end of January, and then all other categories are going to slot in before the new financial year in April.
Very, very good. It's like music to my ears. And what you said, Debra, about the separate, you register as a managing agent, that just puts managing agents up again where they belong. So I want to talk to you guys now about the actual applications and, if it's one form and if it's however many people there are in your agency, what is the situation? So let's take a managing agent who has 5 portfolio managers. What do we do there?
All right. We drafted new forms. It's live on our website. We've taken down the old forms. The business property practitioner form, remember, before you can register yourself as a managing agent, you must be linked to a firm. So ABC managing agents must first be registered with us, and then the 5 employees of ABC can be registered. Now, the business property practitioners form is straightforward. You're going to fill in there what you are, right, and which industry. You cannot tick more than one industry per form. If you're an MA plus a developer, you must only tick one and another application form for your separate industry. So the individual form, we've changed the questions. There's 10 questions there. We've changed it from yes or no to correct and incorrect. You'll see it on the website as well. For any of the questions, if you answer it incorrect, am I of unsound mind, and you say incorrect, you'll have to attach an exemption form to us, the E1, because remember, we talk about Section 50 disqualifications when we drafted those questions in terms of the legislation. So if you say you've been found guilty in a court of law of fraud, or misappropriate funds before as a property practitioner, you'll need to attach your E1 exemption application form that we sit with as the exemption committee. So it's straightforward. You're going to fill in the form. Each individual employee is going to fill in his or her own form. It's not one size fits all, because it's you that's being issued the fidelity fund. It's not one fidelity fund for 300 members of your managing agency. You're going to pay for your fidelity fund certificate. You have your own fidelity fund certificate, your own application form, and do not submit forms to us if it does not being accompanied by the supporting documents. This is also in our FAQ for MAs. Do not send it in drips and drabs. One can imagine that we do register estate agents now, because it's the only category we had, and attorney employees. We register up to 8,000 a month. Now, can you imagine if you give me your ID today and your application form tomorrow? We just can't work with it like that. So you submit it on the portal, you upload it there, it's going to pull through to us. We're going to validate it. We'll give you that FFC. So just follow our process. If it's not clear, just email us the FAQ. I'm going to send directly to you, Marina, and your team. You can distribute it on social media as well. I'm going to give you the forms, everything for your members to go through. It's quite easy, but if you're not sure about the form, phone us anytime tomorrow. We're here to assist the entire day, or Monday, or whenever else. We are closing next Friday, unfortunately. So if you want to get your registration done this year, tomorrow is your time.
And what's the fee, Johlene?
The fee, if you've been registered previously with us, because I assume lots of managing agents have been registered before, it's 2501. If it's a new firms are free to register. You only pay for the natural person's FFC, and that's 2929 if you're a brand new entry, and that's per person. We will not transfer your FFC from estate agency to managing agent. You have to pay again. You'll have to deregister if you don't wear an estate agent cap at all. If you don't do selling or renting, you deregister. We'll deregister you as estate agent and register you as MA.
Maybe I can just add to that. Remember that if you have an estate agency currently and you registered as such with us, and you go and register a managing agency and you only operate in the managing agency company, your estate agency remains registered with us, and so you are now required to comply with the Act in respect of that firm as well. So it's not a good idea to leave it dormant, because whether it's dormant or not, you still have to submit audit reports. You still have to ensure that it complies. You still have to have a trust account. You have to make sure your trust account remains not in arrears, in other words, in positive, in the black. And so it costs you money and it's unnecessary. So do deregister it by, first of all, winding up your trust account. Make sure there's no money in it. It's paid out. Wind it up. Give us a letter from your bank confirming that the trust account has been closed and the date of closure. Give us a winding up audit report up to the date of closure for that trust account, and send us a letter saying, please, I'm the principal, can you please deregister this firm? And so remember, your company can remain dormant at SIPC or at the deeds office, but it cannot remain dormant with us, because that means it has to comply with the Act, and you have to submit audit reports, etc., annually. So rather do that.
Yeah, and just to add to that, remember, we charge 450 Rand per month for penalties. This is legislated. So you can pay up to 16,000 Rand. So say, for instance, your estate agent, you are a managing agent, but we could only register as an estate agent. Your estate agent has got outstanding audit reports by us, or there's penalties outstanding, or you've been blocked. Right? You cannot register your MA firm without settling all amounts for your estate agency. So you can't skip from the one to the other. Our system is going to pick it up. So you will have to deregister if you no longer play in the estate agent space, because that's the only thing we got for you back then. And you're only an MA. You'll have to settle your dues before we will register you then tomorrow. We can work on a payment plan over 6 months. Just get in touch with us. But we're going to look on the system for you, whether what's going on with your agency, if you've not been compliant or everything. But just know we can't register you as an MA if you are not in good standing with your current firm, with the PPRA.
Well, I tell you what, I'm starting to feel a bit frightened, actually, of the two of you. You sounding like you mean business, guys. Very good, very
Sorry.
good. I think be afraid, be very afraid. These ladies will come after you and there will be no escape. One last question on applications. If you're a sole proprietor, how do we go about doing that? Do we do the individual or the company or both?
You do first. Remember, the sole prop, you are linked to, it's your own name and it's your own tax. Remember, so we do not ask you for a FIC document or a BEE certificate, right? But you fill in the firm as well as the individual, because you always need an FFC for the firm as well as for the individual. You can't have the one without the other at the end of the day. But that's also in our FAQs. Everything is there. If there's anything not there, flag it to us if it's not clear, and we'll gladly add it in. The FAQ speaks about what documents you need, who's a foreigner, what do you need, how do you deregister, what about CPD, what about education standards. It's got everything in there, and it's only for managing agents, this FAQ. There's no other industry that it speaks to. You on your own. You must feel special because you're a category on your own here at the PPRA, and we're going to treat you as such.
Right, the next question, I see Alexia has asked a question about educational requirements. And I know at the stakeholder awareness webinar that you guys did, you did definitely touch on education. And that's one thing where you said, Debra, managing agents were a bit upset because they always had to answer stuff about estate agents instead of their own thing. So can we touch on the education requirements and where we are?
Please. All right, sure. Let me explain it. I'm afraid it is a little bit involved, and that's because of the nature of the regulations relating to education. If you look at the regulations, you will see a regulation 33 deals with education requirements for the property practitioner sector. Now, at the moment, the regulation indicates quite clearly that we as PPRA must establish standards of training for each industry. So there is no blanket requirement for you to get the same education as an estate agent or anything else. We have to consult with you, which has been done quite extensively, I understand, by the education department. We have to consult and say, all right, we have agreed with you that what we believe is the acceptable standards of training for this particular industry is X. And that is what we are going to require from a principal, and this is what we're going to require from an ordinary employee or whatever the case may be. Now, that hasn't been done yet. Okay, so education department are at the moment very busy working out what will be the best standards of training. The other thing which the regulation requires is that no property practitioner can operate without having done a 6-month candidacy or internship, which is basically a 6-month training period, and having written a PDE exam. Okay, so those are the two things that all industries have to have. That's separate and apart from your ordinary standard of training, like your NQF4 and NQF5 for estate agents. Okay, at the moment, there is no PDE exam for principal agents or for full status agents or for principal or directors or managers, managing agents, etc. That still has to be done. There's also no 6-month practical training established yet by the education department. So at this stage, anybody except an estate agent cannot comply with regulation 33. It's simply not possible. So what we do is we say to everybody, that's fine, you can register with us and we will grant you an exemption from regulation 33 for a period of 12 months or 3 years or 2 years or however long we think it's going to be necessary for the education department to get their ducks in a row and be able to say, all right, this is what you have to do. And we're giving you a year or 2 years or whatever to be able to accomplish it. So for the moment, you register without any educational qualifications. We will not ask any, and we will simply give you a Section 4 exemption from Regulation 33. Please note, it's not an exemption from holding an FFC. Okay, that is very important to understand. Up until now, we have been giving managing agents an exemption from holding an FFC because of the fact that we couldn't issue you with one.
Yeah.
Now we are registering you, so we can issue you with an FFC, and you must have an FFC. We will not exempt you from an FFC requirement, but we will exempt you in order to get your FFC from Regulation 33, which is the education requirements of having a PDE exam pass and having a candidacy, which you've completed. So that is what we are doing at the moment. That will change as the education department gets themselves in a position to say, right, for this industry, this is what we require. For that industry, that is what we require. And this is how it's available. And that's how long you've got to get it. Okay. But as I say, then our exemptions, we will no longer grant anymore. We will say, right, that's the position. You can carry on without an exemption. But at some stage, when you are required to have the education qualification, which is in place, you will then be disqualified from being able to get a new FFC until such time as you have achieved that qualification that has been set out. So at the moment, there is nothing except for estate agents. Estate agents continue to have your NQF4 and your NQF5, your PDE4, and if you want to be a principal, your PDE5. I hope that's clear.
Yeah, that makes it very, very clear. Thank you. Susan is very worried that she'll be penalized. Hi, Susan. I hope you're well. She'll be penalized if she only registers on Tuesday. I think she'll be okay. Can you guys just let her know?
Yeah, no, look, there's no timeline, Susan. So we are going to register each and every MI until such time as each and every MI are registered. It's going to take a couple of months. It's going to take an hour. It's going to take months and months. So let me just scare you a bit more. So we have a complete database of all property practitioners in this country. We got it from CIPC, SARS, and FIC. So do not think we do not know who you are. If you do not register by next year, we'll know. We are clamping down on estate agents now that's not registered because obviously that's detrimental, So especially with MAs as well, if you steal the money, you don't have an fidelity fund certificate, Debra's not going to pay out to clients. It's very, very serious. So that's why we have a complete universe of all property practitioners in this country. So don't think myself and Debra won't know if you don't register. We know who you are.
It is going to take us a bit of time to phase this in. So yeah, so please don't get into a stress if it's going to take you a couple of weeks and you still have to fill in forms and all the rest of it. Arrange payments and things. We're not saying, okay, if you didn't have one on the 1st of January or whatever, that's not what we're going to do at all. What is going to happen, of course, is if we get complaints from someone to say, oh, there's a managing agent over there and they're operating without a fidelity fund certificate and I've got a complaint because they're not doing a good job and blah, blah. Well, then you come to our attention and then we're going to say to you, well, why haven't you got a fidelity fund certificate? And as long, if it's because we are still busy registering you and you have applied, then obviously that's fine. But if you've been lying under the radar and now somebody has brought you to our attention, then obviously if there's a period of time that's gone by, we will definitely take action. But don't stress too much for the first month or two. It's not going to be an issue.
Okay, and we spoke about SARS and FIC. Can you elaborate a little bit about how they are involved in the registration process as well? Is it just databases talking to each other?
No. When you register your firm with the property practitioners, the PPRA, we will need a SARS PIN number from SARS because you'll need to be tax compliant with your firm, of course. So you will need that number that you'll obtain from SARS when you register your business. And we'll also need the FIC PIN number. So we have contact of both these entities. If your clients or your members or the managing agents are struggling to obtain these two PIN numbers from SARS and FIC, they can contact me. I'm not sure if everybody's got my details, Marina. I'm not sure if your team would like to put it to the chat or must I and my cell phone number, and we can assist you because it's quite tricky sometimes, a generic email at SARS. The same at the PPRA. If you don't know your executives, you don't know who you're dealing with, it's quite daunting if you pick up the phone and phone the call center. That's why we have contacts at both these industries. We cannot register you without those PIN numbers. So we want to make it as seamless as possible for MAs. So we'll give you the contact details. Just pop me an email, ask Johlene who's our liaisons at these two entities. Will gladly assist you. And yeah, and we're always available. I think members or managing agents, you need to know who is your executives at the PPRA and who is your management team. We all got our cell phone numbers, is in the public domain, our email addresses. So I think that is quite important because there is various departments. So I am FFCs. It's my responsibility. If you don't give your FFC, it's my fault. Debra is head of claims, of course. So if you're naughty and take a bit of money, your clients are going to claim against Debra's fund. So, and then of course, Marina, we can give you the executives for all other departments if you want, and you can circulate that on your social media platforms. It's very important that you know who's who here, so you don't face a brick wall and say, I'm dealing with a junior staff member, they don't assist me. Really do get to know your management team. I think it's quite important. We're visible. We're out there in the industry. We've changed this PPRA around in the last couple of months. We're super proud of it. And we've got to keep the momentum going.
That's, that's fabulous to hear. At the end of the day, I think the more transparent an organization is, the more trust that you're going to gain. It's not just this faceless entity with people in their ivory towers. And I must say, on behalf of the whole industry, thank you for that. Really, both ladies, you've been terrific. I mean, we were at the Property Expo together. You're very brave giving out your cell phone numbers. I think maybe you guys need to go to Mauritius straight after tomorrow, because there are going to be a lot of people inquiring about these things. Okay, so you put in your application, and people must wait 30 days for the application to be processed. If feedback's not received, must people query it, or how long should they give you before they start bothering you?
No, immediately. The Act says we must issue within 30 days. If your documents are non-compliant, the time starts afresh, but we're going to tell you in between to say, hey, this is missing. That's why I said it's so critical to read that FAQ, because all the documents for all processes are there. You submit all of it. We'll never ask you for anything more. After 30 days, escalate to me.
Okay. And Kath asks, she says she's overseas, but she wants to be compliant with the PPRA. She's qualified as a managing agent, but she's not practicing as a managing agent. She does want to register. Do you see any problem with that?
No.
She can register, but she needs to have a firm registered. So if she's not practicing, she either needs to register under another firm as an employee. Otherwise, if she's a principal or she's a director, in other words, or who has her own firm, then she needs to establish that and register it, and register as the director of that firm. And then she has to pay her FFC every 3 years and submit her audit report every year if she has her own firm. Okay.
Okay. What I'd like to just touch on as we come to the end of this webinar is the transformation side of the PPRA. And what exactly is the PPRA doing? I believe there's a fund as well in terms of transformation, and previously disadvantaged people who are starting to become managing agents, who need to set up their own agencies. Could you just touch on that for us?
Please, Debra.
Sure. Okay. Yes, in terms of the new Act, there is a transformation chapter, and it indicates quite clearly that we need to ensure that transformation is a major part of what we are doing on a daily basis and what we're trying to achieve. We have a transformation department that runs the transformation processes and the different projects that we are putting in place. Unfortunately, our transformation managers just left. So we have an acting transformation manager at the moment, which is Johlene, and she is also the legal manager. So she's got wearing two hats.
Sorry, Debra, I think we're losing.
And that transformation has a number of projects which they're busy with.
Sorry, I think if you can just...
Can you hear me now?
Go back a bit. Yeah, that's better. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, sure. Okay, so what I was saying was that we have a transformation department that deals with transformation as required by the Act. It's one of our mandates, and we have to ensure that we comply with it. And we do have the department, as I was saying, we just lost our transportation managers. So Johlene Kambuli is acting in that position at the moment. What they have is they have a number of projects where, first of all, where there is money available. Transformation Fund. They will use that to assist agents who get their qualifications as a principal, but they don't have, this is previously disadvantaged agents, but they don't have the money or the capital to be able to start up their own businesses. So they will assist them by paying for certain things, rentals or whatever it is, and you can apply for that kind of assistance. The other thing which they have is they have various types of incubation projects where they use principal agents who are prepared to, and they place different agents at the various industries, and they assist with a stipend. So there are various projects that are on the go at the moment. We have the Transformation Fund, which they are in the process of trying to raise money for, and particularly from the private sector, because it's not, you don't get any assistance from government for that. What we are doing is we're going to some different government entities who are prepared to assist us and who do that kind of thing, who play in that market. And we are working with the Research Foundation to also provide the research center which is needed, which gives new agents access to various works, various information, etc., to assist them as they proceed. So yeah, there are a lot of things in the pipeline. It's still early days, but we're hoping that that takes off quite shortly.
So for the people out there listening, you know, this regulatory kind of environment doesn't only apply to managing agents and estate agents. Just as a matter of interest, as attorneys, we were in a conference the other day called by one of our lawyers here at BBM, my firm. And I know across the board, all the different law firms have been called in to say, if you have a client that comes in, you have to do a full risk assessment on that client, because attorneys' funds have been identified as open for money laundering, through politics, through terrorism, through all of that. So now for every client that comes to me, I need to do a risk assessment form, and I need to rate that client. So if that client is a politician, the friend of a politician, the wife of a politician, someone associated with a politician, or if has got any connections in the underworld or whatever, I mean, it's a major thing. I have to report them. And if they don't want to fill out my risk assessment forms, then I still have to report them, because there's something dodgy or something untoward about it. So this is not just, why are they why are they sort of identifying managing agents or estate agents, anybody who's dealing with money. And what's behind that is our grey listing status. And I know that the president with a grey listing status is trying to avoid where people can't invest in our country, because every Tom, Dick and Harry is stealing out of different accounts. And I think it's a really, really, really positive thing. So it's not to be viewed in a negative light. We've got to professionalize the industry, and we've got to make sure that people who work in the industry are people of integrity and people of value, and we're all responsible for that. So yeah, Andy, I agree that blonde lady there sitting there is quite strict, hey? But there's a need to be strict. We have to be strict. And ladies, I'm going to give you both one opportunity to say one last thing that's on your mind, some interesting information that you'd like to share. Debra, if you'd like to start, and then I'll hand over to Johlene.
Okay, thank you. Just to pick up on where you stopped relating to FIC and the requirements under that Act, they are crucial and they're very important for our country. We've got a huge problem with corruption, as you know, and this is one of the ways in which people are going to be brought to book. So unfortunately, it makes it difficult for those of us who are working in any of the sectors where there is money involved and there is purchasing of large amounts of money, or large amounts of money maybe changing hands. But we do need to do that, first of all, because it's the law, and second of all, because it's good for our country to do that. As far as the PPA is concerned, there are a lot of issues with the PPRA. We were not sure on how we should interpret certain things. That's not strange. We have a new Act. There's no case law which has dealt with any of it yet. So we don't know how the courts are going to interpret certain provisions which are not clear. And that will come with time. In the interim, we have to interpret it, and we have to say, okay, this is how we understand the Act, and this is what we understand the requirements to be, and that is what we are going to implement. We are certainly open to your views, and if you have any discussion points that you want to discuss with us, certainly Johlene can take it to Exco and they can discuss the interpretation of various provisions at Exco level if necessary. But obviously we have to take a stand as we understand things, and that's what we will do. It's not a case of us trying to be difficult or trying to implement things or make things difficult for people to operate. We are a creature of statute, so we do what the Act says we can do. We do what the Act says we must do, and we don't do anything else. So unfortunately, we have to comply. It's not a case of anything is, it's not something we can choose to comply with or not to. We have to enforce the Act. We are obliged to do so. We want to do so in a creative and positive way. We want to assist you to be able to comply with the Act, but at the end of the day, compliance and regulation is what we do. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Debra. Johlene?
Yeah, no, just thanks for the opportunity. I've given my email address and my cell phone number in the chat. I first did it with ZAA, but it's actually org.za, blonde moment there. My telephone number is there. Give me a call. I'm going to send everything now to you, Marina, and your team. What should be on an FFC, how to avoid hefty penalties, the FAQ, how to register tomorrow, the application forms, etc. Just to make it easier. It's as easy as pie. I did it myself. Well, to navigate through the website. A lot of the websites are still showing EAB. Our system developers are converting it to PPRA. Or it says new estate agents portal. That's going to be new property practitioners portal. So we are working around the clock to get this sorted before 8 a.m. tomorrow. So just bear with us. If it's not been changed, we apologize. We are going to change it. It's never been done before. Like we say, since the Act came into operation last year, it's not been done. So this is the first ever. It's going to happen. If there's system glitches, we're here tomorrow. We're just going to refer it back to our system developers. You are going to still be in queue to be issued with your FFC. There's no worries, no problem. Our faces now. We can't run away. And we are here to assist you with every step of the way as your regulator of managing agents. And thank you very much for having us on your last webinar for this year.
Thank you, Johlene, and thank you, Debra. This has been an unprecedented interaction with this kind of authority. And I don't underestimate for 1 minute the hard work, effort that everybody in your department is putting into this. You will have our full support, and I think people must just be patient. Good luck for tomorrow, for all the registrations. Let us know how it goes. For all our Worcester sisters out there, and I see 1 or 2 men have also joined in. If you do celebrate Christmas, have a wonderful Christmas, a peaceful time, and a great new year. If you do not celebrate Christmas, please enjoy your festive season. Come back to us next year. We've got a lot on the boil for next year. I think 2024 is going to be a good one. So do join us, and thank you. Keep safe until next year. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Cheerio.
Bye.
Okay.